I'm pleased to welcome our host, the 33rd Governor of the great state of Wyoming and Chair of the Western Governors Association, the Honorable Mark Gordon. Governor.
Thank you, Tad. Thanks very much. It is an honor to be here. It's also a pleasure to be here because it's very close to home, and it's with a great group of dear friends here that have worked on this issue for a long time. Let me just start first and foremost by thanking again our sponsors, Tri-State, Net Power, JP Morgan Chase, and the Walton Family Foundation. These visionary people recognize that there are really a couple of issues that are associated with decarbonizing the West, decarbonizing the globe, excuse me, and they aren't necessarily completely linked. And so it takes a real degree of courage to understand that trying to shut down fossil fuels does not necessarily address decarbonizing. They are not synonymous. And in fact, they are two unique efforts. One, I think, is probably misguided, and the other that is quite relevant to the issues that we see here. Over the last couple of years, we have had in Wyoming remarkable challenges from drought, from warm temperatures, and this year, despite the fact that globally the temperature has risen pretty remarkably, this has been the mildest and probably coldest and longest winter that this region has seen in a long time. There's also a difference between climate and weather, and those two things need to be understood as well. It is absolutely fantastic to have the opportunity to lead Western Governors, which has a long tradition of looking at complicated issues and addressing them in a bipartisan and very thoughtful leadership fashion. Many of the initiatives that have come out of Western Governors go on to make national policy relevant, go on to make real changes that are valuable for how we guide this nation forward. There really is no challenge I can see that is more important for us to address responsibly, thoughtfully, and most importantly, honestly, than climate change. And that is what this initiative is about. And I am thrilled that my partners on both sides of the aisle have allowed me to take this challenge and move it forward. I do want to welcome you to the first workshop to discuss this WGA initiative. It'll be the first of a series. You've heard from Jack some of those that will be continued over the course of the year. And today, I'm really excited to discuss carbon capture on fossil fuel electric generating plants and the issues around CO2 sequestration. When I speak about how it's important to be honest, it is really important that we understand what this industry, coal in particular, has meant to this community, to Wyoming. You know, I've often mentioned that if you have a coal community, the job it takes to first engineer and understand all of the topographical, geological, and also the engineering that's important to set up a mine is all high-skilled, high-paying jobs that take time. The actual job of mining takes high-skilled, high-paying jobs, and it takes time to do that as well. Over the course since the 1980s, Gillette has grown from a relatively small town to the pretty large and thriving community that you see today. And that's because the jobs and the careers that have been established here are long-lasting and important to the economy and to the development of the future. It is very interesting to me that a lot of times people say, well, you know, now what we need to do is we need to figure out how to put solar panels or wind turbines on reclaimed mine lands, as if reclaimed mine lands somehow are inferior to what was before. But that's the point. Coal companies have had to design, develop, and reclaim lands, and sometimes it has been almost impossible to tell what's happened before, during, and after because of the reclamation. So what we see in the coal industry is the opportunity to build, develop, and grow a community and an economy that is important. So it is appropriate, I think, that this community, which was built on coal, has the opportunity to point out the best ways that we can start to address carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And I started my comments by saying there is a difference between trying to stop fossil fuel development and trying to address what I believe is probably the most important issue of our time, how we get carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Gillette has taken a leadership role. We have today an opportunity to look at the integrated test center and the great work that's being done there to be able to capture at a source carbon, be able to potentially geologically sequester it. And we'll hear today about some of the opportunities that Wyoming has really taken a leadership role in as well, in the way that we can map and understand geological reservoirs and ways that we can make sure that when we do geologically sequester CO2, that CO2 won't migrate or become a problem down the road. Here in Gillette, coal is very much a part of this economy and this community's culture. Wyoming is the largest coal producer in the nation. But here's a couple of details that I think it's important to recognize. 60% of the world's energy production is based on fossil fuels. 35% of the global production is based on coal. Our contribution in this nation from coal to the electric generation has dropped from roughly 50% about a decade and a half ago to somewhere between 14 and 19%. Now, transportation has overtaken coal as the largest emitter domestically. During all of that decline in emissions domestically from coal electric generation, we have seen a corresponding rise in CO2 emissions globally. When we see the price of fuels and energy go higher, we see a drive to cheaper alternatives, which have not done a very good job of addressing carbon. We hear often about how China is developing one new coal generating plant. It's either weekly or monthly, pick your number. They are in fact growing a tremendous amount of carbon coal-fired power plants, but they're also taking a lead on some of these very similar technologies. China has overtaken the US as the largest carbon emitter, and they're much more ready to start to export that technology to countries that really need it, countries that can't necessarily afford it. So our work here, being able to develop cost-efficient, thoughtful, and useful ways to decarbonize emissions from coal-fired power plants, gas-fired power plants, can be a model, and indeed, I hope, an opportunity for our nation to be able to lead the global fight beyond our borders to be able to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. I think when we talk about where this initiative can lead us, it is my hope that coming together and talking honestly about all the technologies, the costs associated with them, broadly speaking about what the challenges are that we have to meet in order to do that without trying to take a shot at any particular technology, without trying to be prejudicial for or against any technology. We actually can start to solve what is really within our grasp, but we have to begin to look at it from the ground up and what we're able to accomplish in a way that is practical and actually moves us forward. So the context I'd like to move forward with, and it's really going to be exciting to have this day to talk about it. If people are being told that they have to give up something, they're very reluctant to do that. If, in fact, we can change the conversation from fossil bad, renewable good, to what do we do to make things work better? What do we do to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? What are our opportunities to grow our economy? And oh, by the way, we're going to improve people's lives. We're not trying to take things away. We have a better shot of addressing this issue, of leading the global charge on this issue, and in fact, bringing a much more responsible conversation. So today, I am very excited that we are able to welcome the Assistant Secretary of Fossil Energy here, and we're going to have a conversation in a bit, and we'll go on and have several good opportunities to discuss this over the course of the year. We will begin to look deeper into other alternatives and other technologies, other efforts that are going on. My friend, Brad Crabtree, I just called him Michael Crabtree because of his football skills, but my friend Brad Crabtree from our neighboring state of North Dakota has ventured into DC, and it is really a great opportunity and a great honor to have Brad here to discuss not only what Wyoming has been able to do, what North Dakota has been able to do in getting primacy on our Class 6 wells, and Todd is here, so thank you, Todd, for being here. But what that means in terms of being able to provide reliable, dispatchable, dependable energy 24/7 without bias on source, making sure that when people hit the light switch, they know that light switch will go on and turn the lights on. They know that they'll have heat, and they know that, in fact, we are aggressively addressing this issue.